Key Complete Therapies is the only outpatient practice in the Greater Omaha area to offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy for children, young adults, and adults. We're also unique because we provide therapy where you're most comfortable and where the problems you are experiencing are happening. We're not home health, though we will come to your home. We take our outpatient clinic services to the places where you live, work, learn, and play. It's more convenient for you, and we think it's a better approach to developing a partnership with you for your treatment. Today, let's look at how occupational therapy is practiced at Key Complete Therapies. Are you struggling with day-to-day activities at home, work, school, or in the community? Occupational therapists assist you with everyday tasks, also known as occupations. In addition to treating underlying problems related to strength, dexterity, sensory processing, balance, and cognition, occupational therapists analyze those daily activities and use the daily activities to help people in every stage of life acquire the skills they need to take care of themselves and others. What draws a person to become an occupational therapist? What drives us in the art and science of occupational therapy? Let's listen to Amanda, one of the therapists with Key Complete Therapies.
My first year in college, I experienced a very serious illness. During my rehabilitation process that took several months, I was exposed to occupational therapy as well as physical therapy and speech therapy. That was my first experience with occupational therapy. And from the very, very initial visit, I was enamored with the art and science of occupational therapy. Her assistance, education, and instruction, not only for me, but also with my family, because with her abilities and creativity and empathy, I was able to care for myself again and start getting myself dressed, use the bathroom again as any 19-year-old would want to do. And she carefully walked me through the steps that I needed to be able to participate in taking care of myself, to learn to drive again, and even go back to school and to my job. And so from that moment forward, I just wanted to know more about this amazing profession that helped people get back to independence or learn new ways to gain control or a sense of self-efficacy in their lives. And so once I met occupational therapy, I knew it was the job for me.
What drives an occupational therapist? We know how important everyday things are and how great it feels to make them possible.
And how much it's really simplified everyday activities of daily living, cleaning up, bathing, doing the basics. How very easy this made it.
I was in it the last month or two of it. I had to have my daughter or my wife lift my leg over the height of the tub. And this new shower is just, it's like doing nothing. It's no work at all. I can get in and out of the shower without nobody worrying, am I going to fall? Am I going to have to call the fire department? They've been out here twice before, but I can proudly say they've never been out here since all this has been put in. And was able to take a shower whenever I wanted to, not on anybody else's schedule, when I wanted to, and without the worry, am I going to have to worry about slipping and falling and potentially getting stuck and waiting for hours, and because that's happened once too, and that's not pleasant.
No.
He uses that shower very independently, and you guys did a great job in setting him up, coming in and figuring out proper placement of all the pulls or the bars, and a proper placement of where his shower handles needed to be, and the the chair that was special ordered for him, the shower seat, it was perfect. I mean, everything was just seamless, and everybody did a very, very good job. And which means that now Stephen gets to be much more independent, and we don't have to worry about him or the fire department coming in and going, Stephen, really? You're here alone, what are you doing? So it's nice.
Is I can do it on my time. I don't have to wait for anybody.
So how has the shower changed your family's life?
Independence.
Well, now it's more who gets the shower first, not when are we going to, everybody enjoys using the shower, not just Stephen.
While Key Complete Therapies focuses on places where people are living, working, learning, and playing, you'll find occupational therapists working in many other settings, serving both physical health and mental health needs. Michaela will share an experience from an acute care setting where she had the joy of helping someone succeed with an everyday activity.
So I found that patients in acute care are spending, their days in hospital beds with all of their IVs and lines and tubes coming out of them, and maybe even a tube down their throat. And it's just a really sterile and cold environment, and it's not great for the healing process, especially when these people are going through these huge life transitions. It's just not the ideal environment. So as occupational therapists, we really get to come in and kind of help give these patients some sense of normalcy with whatever that may mean to them. So I worked with a patient in the ICU who we knew from the beginning was going to be definitely a longer-term patient due to the extent of her injuries. And the first couple days were always the hardest because they're going through this huge transition and it's super overwhelming. And it's just really important to start focusing off on really simple things like we did with this patient. So things like brushing their teeth, washing their face, brushing their hair, all these little things that just kind of help them make them feel like themselves again. This particular patient had a big personality and she always wore these tie-dye shoes, and it was super important for her to be able to put these shoes on by herself. So, we started off with baby steps. We worked sitting at the edge of the bed and then standing and just kind of building up her endurance. Throughout the process, I helped her do things like take her first shower after her accident. We got to go out. I took her out in a wheelchair to the hospital gardens and just little things that really kind of helped her feel like herself again. And eventually when she did reach her goal and put her shoes on, she did not take them off all day. She kept them on. She wanted all of the nurses and doctors to see that she had put her shoes on. Because in the acute care setting, it can be so easy to feel like just another patient on the long list that nurses and doctors care for. And as occupational therapists, we really come in and get to learn about the patient as a person and help them feel like a person rather than a patient, which is such a huge part of the healing process.
Those are powerful stories that show the value to human beings of doing simple, everyday things. Let's bring it home a little. Think about this. What would you do if you lost the use of one arm, or you'd never developed the ability to use one arm? And that's only one of the kinds of things that can happen to a human being during their lifetime. How would you get dressed, fix your breakfast, hold your baby, ride your bicycle, or do any of the things that are important to you to do every day? That's the kind of question that occupational therapists help people solve. This is the process that an occupational therapist will use. It starts with listening. First, they help the person or their family clearly define the goal they want to achieve. It has to be measurable and manageable. If necessary, they might break it down into smaller, achievable steps. During the evaluation, the OT will identify the underlying problems that are restricting a person from performing successfully. They may look at physical, cognitive, psychosocial, sensory perceptual aspects of performance, how a person interacts with their physical and social environments, and finally, how their current performance impacts the roles they play or wish to play in life. Intervention is customized, of course, but will generally involve helping a person develop or regain skills, change the way they do a task in order to use the skills they have, change the environment so that it better matches their abilities, or employ a mixture of the three in order to help a person succeed in the occupation that is that person's goal, safely and effectively.
Good. And that little lazy Susan on the seat's helping with that turn, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's an overview of the general process for occupational therapy that we adapt for a wide range of disabilities or developmental conditions, both for children and adults, here at Key Complete Therapies. Many of our therapists have specialty areas of practice. Shayla, one of our occupational therapists, works a great deal with our pediatric programs. She shared that she loves seeing the progress children make and how excited they are when they can do something. She says she loves working alongside parents and giving suggestions to help them think outside the box to allow their child to excel. For children, treatment often takes place in a fun, playful environment, not only because it's more motivating for them, but because play is a primary occupation for a child. A specific type of treatment our therapists often utilize for our pediatric practice is sensory integration. Sensory integration is the neurological processes in the brain that allows people to take information we receive from our five senses, organize it, and respond appropriately. Each person with sensory processing disorder looks different, so sensory integration intervention looks different for each person as well. Let's showcase a creative program to utilize gymnastics as a treatment method for sensory integration that Michaela created while on fieldwork with us.
Absolutely. So sensory integration is just kind of your ability to regulate everything that's going on around you. So all of the five senses that we already know, but also your proprioception, so your ability to kind of know where your body is in space, your vestibular sensory system, which is your balance, as well as your interoception, so your ability to kind of know what's going on inside your body. And so using gymnastics equipment, we can really help regulate that. I mean, it's a perfect environment for it. You're really testing almost all of the senses in that environment. They're moving around in all different planes of movement. So they're kind of getting all of that, and you can regulate and really just create whatever environment that child needs. So I think it's really the perfect place for it. I think it's a great setting because play is really the main occupation for kids. So it's what helps them learn and develop and grow. And gymnastics is like the ultimate play environment for a kid. I've never met a kid who didn't love jumping on the trampoline or rolling around in the foam pit or playing with the mats or whatever it is. So I really think it's the best way to kind of hit all of those main points that I was talking about, but in a way that's really fun and motivating for them, because the kid's working on a skill that, you know, they're excited to show their parents what they're working on, and they're not thinking about it like that, but really it is that brain-body connection. With every repetition of what they're doing, they're really learning how to, you know, connect their brain and their body and produce those movements that are really going to be beneficial in the long run.
Bhavan is a therapist at Key Complete Therapies who uses the environment and technology as her specialty practice to help children and adults participate as fully and as safely as possible in activities of daily living that are important to them. Occupational therapists use research-based methods to determine a person's current skills and anticipate a person's likely future skills when recommending equipment or making suggestions for environmental interventions or home modifications. As people sometimes find out when they buy medical equipment off the shelf without advice, it doesn't always work for them the way they thought it would. They don't have the underlying abilities to evaluate their own performance or analyze the activity in order to match equipment and modifications to the function. Many times the skills of an occupational therapist are required to find a way to make their choices work. Some solutions are commercially available products. Some equipment is very specialized, such as this switch, clamp, and device that will allow a person who has limited abilities to move her arms or to speak, let someone know that she needs assistance, or even be able to turn on some music when she wants to. the switch activates it, turns it off, or turns it on. Solutions can be temporary or permanent. When you work with environmental modifications, you can utilize several different accessibility design styles depending upon a person's preferences, budget, and how permanent a solution is desired. Some modifications blend in so well that everyone can use them and they're hardly noticeable. Other solutions are more recognizable and help a person compensate for a very specific disability. Some changes can be made by family members or the patients themselves. Other environmental changes require working with and communicating with building professionals. Several occupational therapists at Key Complete Therapies are experienced working with durable medical equipment vendors to provide the evaluation and documentation that insurances require to pay for complex medical equipment, such as wheelchairs, transfer devices, and depending upon the insurance company, many other items. Insurance companies understand that you have to identify a person's abilities and the activities that a person plans to accomplish with that equipment, and then match that to the right equipment in order to spend money wisely and obtain equipment and solutions that do what people expect them to do for them. Occupational therapists at Key Complete Therapies assist both children and adults with orthopedic or neurological conditions develop or regain underlying function they need in order to accomplish activities of daily living. They work in partnership with people to teach them how to help themselves and to maintain the improvements that they've made. Occupational therapy is an evidence-based practice deeply rooted in science that focuses on the value of activities that most people are happily able to take for granted. It is actually that focus on the everyday mundane tasks like tying your shoe, opening and closing a door, or taking a bath that makes it hard for people who haven't needed OT yet to understand who occupational therapists are and what occupational therapy can offer them. Amanda will wrap this up and explain how she talks to people about occupational therapy.
I like to approach our career and our profession with others in a way that makes it applicable to where they're at in their lives, and just approach it from we want you to live as fully as possible, and we want to meet you where you're at, but also take you to the next level. And so imagine yourself living as independently as possible, but also as pain-free and injury-free as possible for as long as you can live.